Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another series where I rank a particular draft pick number from 1 to 24. This episode, we're going through every number 3 draft pick since 2000 and ranking them from 1 to 24, essentially redrafting it in some way. Now, obviously, a lot of the recent draft picks, I haven't played a lot of games, so for those draft picks, I try to predict the future. I try to think about how good will they be compared to some of the players that have retired already. And I have come up with this list, starting off at number 24, I have got Will Phillips. Now, Will Phillips was drafted in 2020 to North Melbourne. He's only played 37 games in it's been around 4 seasons nearly. So what's that? On average, he's playing just under 10 games a season, depends on if he gets more games. So I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced by Will Phillips. And look, it's probably really harsh that I'm putting him this low. There's a couple really impressive. In fact, all the draft picks from this number 3 draft, they've all played 100 games or will play 100 games. And for that reason, I had to put someone in dead last, and that's who I picked. Obviously, went to North Melbourne. It hasn't worked out amazingly yet. In 23rd, I've got Paddy Dow, who was originally drafted to the Carlton Football Club. He's obviously playing for St Kilda now, but I do not rate him at all. He did not succeed at Carlton. He never lived up to the hype. It was Cripps and Walsh who did what we all thought Paddy Dow would do. He's played around 80 games. He's got 1 Brownlow vote. It's not been a season that's been remarkable for St Kilda. He's done all right here and there, but it's just not a career that screams 3rd in the draft. In 22nd, I've got Dom Tyson. Streets will forget, obviously drafted to the Giants in 2011. And by the way, Paddy Dow was drafted in 2017. Dom Tyson, that's confusing. 2011, obviously, he played at multiple clubs, the Giants, the Melbourne Football Club. He did get 20 Brownlow votes, kicked 45 games, only 113 overall matches, however. And that's why he's all the way in 22nd, but he still had a decent career. And this is why it's quite a strong draft. He's played over 100 games, got quite a few Brownlow votes. It's a very strong draft number 3 compared to 2 and 1. In 21st, I've got Loy Plowman. Loy Plowman is unlucky because of injuries. He was picked in 2012 to the GWS Giants. He has had an interesting career, Carlton as well. Played 145 games, kicked the 2 goals, but he's a defender. It's just been slightly unlucky with injuries. He's obviously not playing football anymore, so that's his career finished, but nearly 150 games. It's a decent career, but still a massive letdown, as is our pick number 20, unless you're a Hawthorn fan, Xavier Ellis, who was drafted in 2004 to Hawthorn. The funny thing about Xavier Ellis is he won the flag in 2008. Apart from that, he's in media duties now, but for West Coast, didn't do much. He did play 120 games. He did kick the 37 goals, but the fact he has won that flag just means he has to be higher than some of the ones already mentioned in this video. He was a Streets Don't Forget player, and I would be very happy with a career like his to have won a flag and played over 100 games. Sam Day in 19th place, I've got, who was drafted to the Gold Coast Suns in 2010. He's had a really injury-riddled career as well, unfortunately for him. He's still on the list, but game time is skint. He's played over 150 games, which is impressive. However, unfortunately for him, he never lived up to the hype, and that's not really his fault. It's the injuries. And often these players who don't live up to the hype, injuries are the thing that gets them down. In 18th place, I am dubiously putting Finn Callahan here. Callahan, I'm not sure how you pronounce the name, but I've got him in 18th place. He was drafted to the Giants in 2021. I probably could have him higher, but I'm just not so sure about him. He will probably have a better career, than some of the future names in this list. But for the time being, I'm not so sure about him, as I am with 17th place Jed Walter, who, to the time of recording, round 15, he has not played a game of football yet. So I'm very much unsure about 17th place Jed Walter. 2, Jed Walter, Finn Callahan. It's more so because I haven't seen them play enough football, especially Jed Walter. I feel like I can't exactly project where the careers will be. I think I've especially done Finn Callahan dirty. There are some names in the future I could put above them. But like I said, it's a strong draft. It's something where people just have to go low. In 16th place, I've got another Streets Won't Forget player, Hood Classic, Loy Hansen, who was drafted to the North Melbourne Football Club in 2006. He played over 150 games. He had a decent career. He was actually a pretty solid defender. On his day, he was pretty hard to beat, but unfortunately didn't quite get as many games as he would like. Above him, who was drafted to the St Kilda Football Club in 2013, we all know this famous draft pick. It is obviously Jack Billings, and we all know who was chosen, the selection after Marcus Bontempelli. Jack Billings selected at number 3 in 2013 is a stinker. 15th isn't so bad out of 24, but I don't know how, but he's played 170 odd games. He's got 30 odd Brownlow votes. He's had a decent career, but it's just the fact that St Kilda could have had Bont. Jack Billings for me has never been an amazing player. In fact, like, when was his prime? I feel like Billings has always been an okay player. You know, is there any more than that? I'm not so sure. To be honest, I don't rate him. He's done okay at Melbourne, given that they have a great midfield there, but yeah, it stinks. It reeks of 15th place. In 14th place, I've got Colin Sylvia. Rest in peace to Colin Sylvia. He was drafted in 2003 to the Melbourne Football Club, and he also played for Fremantle. We're not going to talk too much about him. A very unfortunate death. He got 163 games, great career, and an unfortunate way to end. Jared Brennan I have in 13th place. He was drafted the year before Colin Sylvia in 2002 to the Brisbane Lions. I believe he also played for Gold Coast or Fremantle. I think it was Gold Coast. I don't remember him much at Brisbane, in fact, at all. He played over 170 games with 173, kicked over 100 goals, had a pretty decent career, but unfortunately there is just some amazing careers coming up. In 12th place, I've got another Hood classic, Chris Marston. Now, Chris Marston was famous for that premiership. Well, he wasn't famous for it, but that's what he'll be remembered for. It's part of that 2018 premiership winning team for the West Coast Eagles. Really consistent player, a consistent sort of small forward, can roll through the midfield positions on the wing. Talented player, over 200 games at 215 games to be exact, 70 goals, was relatively uninfluential in 2018, but he's made the premiership team, which means he has to be pretty fucking decent. Moving on to 11th place, I've got Luke Jackson. This is a big projection, has already played just under 100 games, or by the time I release this, who knows, he might have already got there. He was obviously drafted to Melbourne in 2019. He's doing well at Fremantle. So let's look at his career so far. Rising star in 2021, very big accolade. He could easily go up towards the top. I think the thing with Luke Jackson is there is that sort of ceiling. Unless you're going to be a Nick Nat or a Gawn or a Dean Cox, as a ruckman, it's going to be hard to have an amazing influence compared to midfielders and forwards and elite defenders. And that's why I didn't want to put him higher. If he played more forward and midfield, not just ruck, maybe I would have him higher, but unfortunately, because I feel like there's a ceiling on his position, I didn't put him that high. But yeah, he made the All-Australian 40 last year in 2023. He also obviously won that premiership in 2021, where he was very influential. Moving on to 10th place, another retired player due to unfortunate concussion issues, Angus Brayshaw was drafted to Melbourne in 2014. It sucks because right now he would be entering the prime of his career, but concussions took toll on him, and unfortunately he can't play anymore. He played 167 games, he kicked 49 goals. He finished 3rd in that Brownlow in 2018, I believe, which was a massive surprise. He wasn't even invited to the Brownlow, so it was really good there. He was phenomenal. For the last 5 years, he had been brilliant. Obviously won the flag as well in 2021, All-Australian 40 in 2022. If he had continued his playing career, he would have racked up 300 games, or maybe like 250, 300 games. He would have been top 3 in this list, but it's just unfortunate that he had the concussions, and unfortunately he didn't play past last season. In 9th place, I've got